In this video, I'll be sharing how I implement server-side meta ads tracking with n8n. By the end of this video, you'll learn a little bit about server-side tracking. I'll explain the specific n8n workflow that I'm using. By the end of this video, you'll also get this workflow for free in the video description and learn about the limitations of server-side tracking and potentially better alternatives. If you don't know what server-side tracking means, when you visit a website, you have a browser and you have a pixel. And a pixel typically belongs to Meta themselves and they attach themselves to your browser. And when a particular event happens, let's say they purchase something or when they submit a lead, this information is then sent to Facebook. There are limitations because there's iOS privacy updates, there are many ad blockers, there are certain browsers such as Safari and Firefox which completely blocks cookies at all. This results in missing conversions, incorrect attribution and inefficient ad spend, because when we spend money on ads, ideally we want to best attribute where did a particular sale or lead come from and which particular ad does it belong to. So the downside of pixel-based tracking is that sometimes the sending of pixel data to Facebook themselves is not that accurate. So what's the alternative? It is server-side tracking. For Facebook, they have this thing called Conversion API. It is a server-side tool that allows businesses to send marketing and conversion data directly from their servers to ad platforms like Meta or Snapchat or Google or TikTok. So actually all the major ad platforms, you can actually send meaningful information from your servers directly to the ad platforms. The backend server here would be n8n. Whether you use n8n or your own server, it really doesn't matter as long as you have a backend server that is able to send that information directly to your Facebook pixel. Your backend server is over here, it is sending all the good information over here. That begs the question, what important information are you sending between your backend server to Facebook? You might think it's just like one purchase event or you're sending emails or phone numbers, but the truth is you're actually sending a lot of events. These are the information that you can actually send over to Meta directly. You can send emails over, you can send phone numbers over. They will then base the quality of the information you send to them on a scale of 0 to 10. So they'll give you this thing called the event match quality score. If let's say you have certain information, the quality score might be low or high. If it's 1 to 6, that's usually poor attribution, wasted ad spends. The end goal is you want a score as high as possible. So the thing is, right, when it comes to sending information from your backend server to Facebook directly, sending 1 or 2 information is not enough. Facebook actually recommends you to send as many information as possible. They want you to send the emails, phone numbers, click ID, IP address, user, agent, browser ID, external ID. The truth is we don't live in a perfect world. When it comes to gathering the data to send to Facebook, this will require a little bit of development expertise. But to make it as simple as possible, in this example I have, I'm only sending emails and phone numbers. These are people who have already bought for my business. These are important things that I will send back to Meta Ad. In my opinion, there's no need to be a perfectionist about it. If you just want to send their email or phone number, I would say that's alright, and that's better than just purely pixel-based browser tracking. But if you really want your match rate to be as high as possible, then you'll need to make sure that you collect information like the click ID, IP address, user agent, browser ID, and external ID. Why is server-side tracking better? It bypasses the browser, there's no ad blockers, there's no iOS issues, and it's more accurate and reliable. And if you really want to send additional information like user agent, external ID, you definitely, in my opinion, need to have developer expertise. For most of the clients that I run ads for, usually I just send emails and phone numbers, and that will be the most important thing. So when you send the data from your backend pixel to Facebook directly, you cannot just send an email or phone number. You need to hash it in an encrypted manner. There is a level of encryption that you must do. Privacy is still the most important thing, and it's not possible to just send an email directly. And this is the objective of the n8n workflow, which is to hash the email in a way that Meta recognizes it. I assume that you have an n8n account. If you don't have, please sign up in the link in the video description. There's the webhook. Think of a webhook as a package that you receive, and you can click on here, and these are the valuable information that you need the webhook to contain. Some of my clients, right, they are a little bit more manual. They actually don't have a lot of developer expertise as well. So even when it comes to sending out a webhook, it's pretty difficult already. So for certain clients, right, I can also make do with this by using Slack messages or even an n8n form directly or even a WhatsApp form directly. This form itself or this automated Slack message that's received in a particular channel, it will then take out information like email, phone number, the first name, the last name, FBC and FBP. In an ideal world, you want these valuable information to be sent to your webhook. If you don't have things like FBC or FBP, sending emails and phone numbers, first name, last name, I would say is the 20% that will get you 80% of the results. Unfortunately, in this case, the tricky thing is whatever you do, you just need a workflow to start with an email and phone number. Whether you manually fill it in, whether your workflow automatically receives it via a webhook, which I would say this is the best scenario. These are the things that are the most important to collect in the first place. So whether you can collect them in the first place, this really depends on your developer. Right? In this example, I'll just be focusing on sending the email, phone number, first name, last name, FBC, FBP. So FBP and FBC, these are clicks IDs and browser IDs that are calculated. In all transparency, I'm still figuring this out and still testing it. So I won't elaborate on these two for now. The first thing you need to do in this workflow is to normalize them and to make sure that the email is all in lower caps accordingly. Because let's say if you have one letter that's off and one letter is caps in the email, right, it won't match with the hash data with what Meta has. So you need to make sure you lowercase everything. You can see I've used the code to lowercase the email. You can see for the phone number, I've also removed all the plus icons. I've removed all slashes just to keep it to the pure phone number. And for the first name and last name is also straightforward. I want to ensure that I lowercase everything. The next thing I do is to hash the email. You need to use and select this hashing type called the SHA256, and you can see I've renamed the property as hashed_EM, and encoding you can select hex. So you can see the input of this node here is normalized email. You can see for the output here, you can see a hash_EM, and this is the hash data that we will be sending to Facebook directly. Facebook on their end would then have an encoded format of this email on their end. So that's where we provide them with the hash data. Facebook has the data of the hash variants. That's where the data is sort of matched. Once it's matched, you can literally see which ad set, which campaign drove a particular conversion in the most accurate way possible. However, the downside is if they use a separate email to sign up with their Facebook or Instagram account compared to the email that they registered with you, unfortunately, there won't be a match, right? Because sometimes some people have multiple emails, and that's the whole reason why Meta would want to have as many variables as possible. They want a click ID, they want IP address, they want a user agent, they want a browser ID, they want an external ID. This is where you can see FBC and FBP. In general, I like this thing called the 80-20 rule. What 20% of things would make 80% of the difference? What metrics here would make 80% of the positive difference when it comes to matching your ads on Meta? Right? Emails, phone numbers, FBC and FBP would be the most important variables that you want to collect. Just to share with you what I'm experimenting with, you can actually go to Google Tag Manager, write certain codes to then install first-party cookies so that you can extract the code and cookies when needed as well. I don't have super strong evidence when it comes to me testing this, mostly because if I go back to this main workflow here, I need this to fire together to send to Meta. So you can see the next thing I do is also hashing the phone number, a normalized phone number. The hash_PH would then land up like this. Similarly, Facebook has a hash variant of my phone number, and then they'll match it if there's any matches. So right now I'm just creating the variables. Same thing for this. I'm hashing the first name and then I am hashing the last name. The next thing we need to do is actually to compute a conversion timestamp. When exactly did this conversion happen at? Whether if you do it via a form submission or whether if you do it via a Slack message, that's up to you. One alternative, you can also have an email. Let's say when you close a sale on HubSpot or Salesforce, it can then automatically send an email out, right? As long as any of these nodes have this information over here, this is something that can be implemented within your current system as well. Just to reiterate, right, your backend server, in this case, n8n is your backend server, and this sends data to Facebook itself for the conversion API to happen nicely. Okay, we were at creating the conversion timestamp. This is where it's important to fill in the event name that you want to submit. Submit application is one of those standard events that Facebook accepts. You can use purchase, you can use start trials, you can use add to carts, whatever event you want to track. This is just me packaging everything in the nicest manner for Facebook to accept as well. So it's like sending a nice gift in a particular language, right? If you send, let's say, a gift in German to someone who lives in India who only knows Hindi, the person in India doesn't know how to appreciate the gift, right? So you need to package it in a manner that Facebook will then recognize accordingly. I move on to this particular code node here where I then transform all this data into a specific package that Facebook will be able to read from their API standpoint. The most important thing is this node over here, which is to send the events to Facebook Pixel themselves. So this is the HTTP request settings that you definitely need. You need to use this URL over here, and you need to replace your Pixel ID over here. It's very important that you get a Meta Conversion API token. Where do you get this? You can go to your Facebook backend. There should be a setting over here where your Pixel name is here. Click on settings, scroll all the way down, and you can click on this thing called generate access token. The beautiful thing about this is that this is an access token that will last forever. You don't have to refresh it. There's no such thing as long-term or short-term tokens here, but you need to make sure that whoever has access to this token, right, you need to trust the person. If ever, let's say you hand it to a developer and the developer like flies away, you need to change your token just to make sure it's safe for security reasons. After you generate this access token, you need to create an API over here, a bearer authentication, and just label it. And that's where the setup of this is extremely easy, because I already have the previous code node to prepare everything in a manner that is suitable for Meta's conversion API to read. You need to send an object over, and this is how it looks like. And of course, this is a sample payload with dummy data. You will get a message something like this where it says events received 1. Messages. Usually if there's an error, it will tell you if there's an error, but if there's no error, this will be empty, and it will also tell you a FB trace_ID. And one thing I like to do is actually to return the data via a webhook, or just automate a message to my Slack, email, or any other means I like to be notified by. The next thing you need to check is to make sure that Facebook is receiving the events correctly. So you can see here, there's these events that I've installed, there's these integration, MetaPixel. These are browser-based data that the Pixel is sending over to Facebook directly. For the events that you're sending over from your backend server, which is n8n in this case, you'll need to see this, and it should reflect here, conversion API. This is when you know you have successfully sent data to Facebook, and after that, they'll then give you an event match quality. So in this case, I only have a match quality of 4.6 out of 10. Things I can do to improve the match rate would be to collect the FBC IP address, user agent, FBP, external ID, and that's the whole reason why all these other metrics, FBC, FBP, user agent, IP address over here. If you really are able to get the FB clit right, actually that's the most helpful. The reason why this might be tricky for conversions down the road, right, because FB click, if I'm not wrong, right, it's more like a UTM string that's attached to a URL. Let's say they visit your website, they drop off, and they come back again directly, right? That's where the FB clit in a sense is gone per se. You need to have some mechanisms to, in a sense, store this FB clit on your backend server, so that in a case where if they do convert down the road, you can pull the data of the FB clit and then send it to Meta. If you are still using Pixel browser-based tracking for ads, right, that to me is just not good. You definitely need to have better visibility, because so many people are using ad blockers. Having said that, server-side tracking is not perfect. It's only acting within the confines of the Facebook ecosystem. When it comes to marketing, the user journey is a little bit more complicated. Let's say they see your ad, they click on it, they visit via Google Organic 3 days later, then 8 days later, then they visit your website directly. Then maybe the last thing they do is search for your brand online, and they see your Google search ad, and they click on your ad, and then Google ads will then say that, hey, I got all these conversions. That's the downside of server-side tracking, where it does not account for other channels in which how people interact. Based on my homework on trying to crack this problem of attribution, there are better alternatives like fingerprint tracking. There are many other tools out there like Hyros, Venom. I'm actually checking out this thing called fingerprint.com. It's a very, very interesting thing. I think I'll definitely make a lot more videos under this, and the truth is I might be even starting like a mini SaaS based on this. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.